Dr. Sarah Chen stared at her computer screen, her eyes wide with disbelief. The radio telescope data scrolling before her was like nothing she had ever seen before. Her hands shook as she reached for her phone. "Director Williams, you need to see this. Now." Within an hour, the control room of the Deep Space Communications Center was buzzing with activity. Scientists from various departments huddled around monitors, talking in excited whispers. Dr. Chen stood at the center of it all, explaining her findings to a group of wide-eyed colleagues. "The signal is artificial. There's no doubt about that," she said, pointing to a series of repeating patterns on the main screen. "And it's coming from a point just beyond the orbit of Neptune." Director Williams, a tall man with graying hair, frowned deeply. "Are you saying we've detected an alien spacecraft in our solar system?" Dr. Chen nodded slowly. "That's exactly what I'm saying, sir." As the news spread, governments around the world went into high alert. Emergency meetings were called, military forces were mobilized, and the public was kept in the dark to prevent panic. In Washington, D.C., President Emily Harris sat at the head of a long table in the Situation Room. Her face was grim as she listened to reports from her top advisors. "Madam President," General Thompson began, "our deep space radar confirms the presence of a large object moving towards Earth. Its size and speed suggest advanced technology far beyond our own." The Secretary of State, a petite woman named Linda Reyes, spoke up next. "We've received reports that other nations have detected the object as well. The UN Security Council is calling for an emergency session." President Harris nodded, her mind racing. "What about the signal? Have we decrypted it?" A young man in a rumpled suit cleared his throat. This was Dr. Alex Patel, the nation's top cryptographer. "We've made some progress, Madam President. It appears to be a message, in English." A murmur of surprise ran through the room. Dr. Patel continued, "The message is brief. It says, 'Greetings, Earth. Prepare for integration into the Galactic Empire. Resistance is futile.'" Silence fell over the room. The implications were staggering. Not only were they not alone in the universe, but an alien empire was on its way to conquer them. President Harris stood up, her voice steady despite the fear she felt. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing the greatest threat in human history. We need options, and we need them now." As governments around the world grappled with the crisis, the alien ship drew closer. Scientists estimated they had less than a week before it reached Earth orbit. In Beijing, Premier Li Xiao paced in his office, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, I understand the gravity of the situation," he said to the Russian president on the other end of the line. "But we cannot simply surrender our planet without a fight." In New Delhi, Prime Minister Arjun Sharma addressed his nation, his voice calm but his eyes betraying his worry. "My fellow Indians, we stand at a crossroads of history. But let me assure you, we will face this challenge united and unafraid." As the days passed, Earth's greatest minds worked tirelessly to find a solution. Military strategists planned defensive measures, even knowing they were likely futile against such advanced technology. Diplomats prepared speeches of welcome and negotiation, hoping to find a peaceful resolution. But it was a group of unconventional thinkers, led by Dr. Chen, who came up with the most audacious plan of all. "It's crazy," Dr. Chen said, addressing a room full of world leaders via video conference. "But it just might work." Her plan was simple in concept, but breathtaking in its boldness. Instead of preparing for integration or mounting a doomed defense, Earth would do the unthinkable. They would ban the Galactic Empire. As the alien ship entered the solar system, humanity held its breath. The future of Earth hung in the balance, and the next few days would determine the fate of every man, woman, and child on the planet. The stage was set for a confrontation that would echo across the stars. The United Nations General Assembly Hall buzzed with nervous energy. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in tense silence, waiting for the emergency session to begin. The fate of humanity hung in the balance. Secretary General Amina Okafor stepped up to the podium, her face a mask of determination. "Distinguished delegates," she began, her voice echoing through the chamber, "we face a threat unlike any in human history. The Galactic Empire approaches, intent on our subjugation. But we have a plan." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Dr. Sarah Chen took the stage. The scientist looked tired but resolute as she explained her audacious proposal. "We can't match their technology," Dr. Chen said, "but we can surprise them. I propose we do the unexpected. We ban the Galactic Empire from Earth." The room erupted in a mixture of gasps, laughter, and outraged shouts. "Silence!" Secretary General Okafor's voice cut through the chaos. "Let Dr. Chen finish." Dr. Chen continued, her voice growing stronger. "Think about it. They expect us to either welcome them or fight back. But what if we simply refuse to acknowledge their authority? We declare Earth off limits, citing our sovereignty as an independent planet." As the idea sank in, a spark of hope began to spread through the assembly. It was crazy, yes, but in its absurdity lay a strange sort of logic. President Emily Harris of the United States stood up. "I support this plan," she announced. "It's time we showed the galaxy that Earth isn't just another conquest. We are a free world, and we choose to remain so." One by one, other world leaders voiced their agreement. The Chinese premier, the Russian president, the Indian prime minister, all pledged their support to this unprecedented act of defiance. As the vote was called, the atmosphere in the room was electric. When the final tally was announced, a unanimous decision to ban the Galactic Empire. Cheers erupted throughout the hall. Secretary General Okafor raised her hands for quiet. "The motion is passed. Earth hereby declares the Galactic Empire banned from our planet. Now we must prepare our message." Over the next few hours, teams of diplomats, linguists, and scientists worked feverishly to craft Earth's response to the Empire. They needed to be firm, clear, and leave no room for misinterpretation. Meanwhile, in orbit, a hastily assembled International Space Station prepared to broadcast humanity's message. Astronauts from a dozen nations worked side by side, rigging up the most powerful transmitter ever built by human hands. Back on Earth, in living rooms and public squares around the world, billions of people watched and waited. The news of the alien approach had finally been made public, and the planet held its collective breath. At last, the message was ready. In the UN hall, Secretary General Okafor read it aloud one final time. "To the Galactic Empire, we, the United People of Earth, have received your communication. We respectfully decline your offer of integration. Earth is a sovereign planet, and by the authority vested in us by our world and our people, we hereby declare the Galactic Empire banned from entering our atmosphere, landing on our surface, or interfering with our affairs in any way. Earth is closed to Imperial expansion. We trust you will respect our decision and our borders. Thank you for your understanding." As the message was beamed into space, a strange calm settled over the planet. They had done it. Earth had stood up to the mightiest power in the galaxy, armed with nothing but words and sheer audacity. Now they could only wait for the Empire's response. Would they laugh? Would they attack? Or would they, against all odds, respect this tiny planet's bold declaration? In homes and bunkers, in military bases and civilian shelters, the people of Earth steeled themselves for whatever came next. They had taken their stand. Come what may, they would face it together. As the alien ship drew ever closer, the stars seemed to hold their breath. The next move belonged to the Empire, and the future of Earth hung on their reaction to humanity's unprecedented defiance. High above the solar system, the massive ship of the Galactic Empire slowed its approach. Inside the gleaming command center, confusion reigned. Admiral Zixnok, a towering figure with blue skin and 4 arms, stared at the holographic display in disbelief. His antenna twitched nervously as he reread the message from Earth. This is unprecedented," he muttered, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly. In 10,000 years of Imperial expansion, no one has ever simply banned us. The bridge fell silent. Officers exchanged bewildered glances, unsure how to proceed. Lieutenant Krell, a young officer with scales instead of skin, cleared her throat. "Sir, perhaps it's a mistranslation. Surely they can't seriously think they can just say no to the Empire." Admiral Zixnock shook his head. "No, Lieutenant. Our translation is perfect. These humans are actually refusing our gracious offer of integration." He turned to his second-in-command, Commander Vex. "What do you make of this, Vex?" The commander, a being of pure energy contained in a humanoid suit, pulsed thoughtfully. "It's either extreme bravery or extreme stupidity, Admiral. Perhaps both." As the Imperial leaders debated, Earth's message was spreading through the ship. Soldiers in the mess hall argued over whether to be amused or offended. Engineers in the engine room wondered aloud if Earth had some secret weapon they didn't know about. In his private quarters, Grand Vizier Quan meditated on the situation. As the Empire's chief diplomat, he had overseen the integration of countless worlds. But never had he encountered a response like this. He opened his 7 eyes and reached for the communication panel. "Admiral," he said, his voice calm but tinged with curiosity, "I believe we need to reassess our approach." Back on the bridge, Admiral Zixnock was growing frustrated. "We can't simply turn back," he growled. "The Emperor would have our heads, but how do we conquer a planet that doesn't even acknowledge our right to do so?" Commander Vex's energy form flickered with an idea. "Sir, what if we sent a small delegation? Perhaps if we explain the benefits of Imperial rule in person, they'll see reason." The Admiral nodded slowly. Yes, that could work. Prepare a shuttle. We'll send a team to meet with these defiant humans." As the Imperial leaders planned their next move, word of Earth's audacious stand was spreading through the galaxy. On planets long under Imperial rule, whispers of admiration and hope began to circulate. On Proxima b, a world conquered centuries ago, resistance leaders gathered in secret to discuss the news. "If Earth can stand up to the Empire," one rebel said, her eyes shining, "maybe we can too." In the bustling markets of Titan's largest moon, merchants exchanged excited gossip about the tiny blue planet that dared to say no to the mightiest force in the galaxy. Even in the Imperial palace on the capital world of Zygon Prime, courtiers and nobles buzzed with speculation. The Emperor himself, a being so ancient and powerful that few had ever seen his true form, was said to be intrigued by Earth's defiance. Back on the Imperial ship, preparations for the delegation were underway. Grand Vizier Quan would lead the team, accompanied by a mix of diplomats, scientists, and a small security detail. As they boarded the shuttle, Admiral Zixnock gave them final instructions. "Remember," he said, "we are the Galactic Empire. We do not negotiate. We do not compromise. Make these humans understand the honor we're bestowing upon them." The shuttle detached from the mothership and began its descent towards Earth. As they entered the atmosphere, Grand Vizier Quan gazed out at the blue and green planet below. "Fascinating," he murmured. "Such a small world, yet capable of such a large gesture. Perhaps we've underestimated these humans." On Earth, tensions were high as news of the approaching shuttle spread. Military forces around the world were on high alert, ready to act if the Empire proved hostile. In the United Nations building, world leaders gathered to meet the Imperial delegation. President Harris, Secretary General Okafor, and Dr. Chen stood at the forefront, preparing to face the representatives of a civilization far more advanced than their own. As the Imperial shuttle touched down on the specially prepared landing pad, humanity held its breath. The moment of truth had arrived. How would the Empire react to Earth's unprecedented defiance? The next few hours would determine the fate of both Earth and the galaxy. As the Imperial shuttle descended towards Earth, humans around the world sprang into action. This wasn't just about facing alien visitors. It was about protecting their home. In a secret underground lab beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chen hunched over a glowing computer screen. Her team of scientists and engineers worked frantically around her, putting the finishing touches on Earth's new planetary defense system. "How's the shield coming along, Dr. Rodriguez?" Chen called out. A tired-looking woman looked up from a tangle of wires and crystals. "Almost there, Dr. Chen. The energy matrix is stable, but we're still working on global coverage." Chen nodded, her face grim. "Keep at it. We need to be ready for anything." Meanwhile, in a small workshop in Mumbai, India, a young inventor named Raj Patel was putting the final touches on his creation. It looked like a mess of scrap metal and old smartphone parts, but Raj knew it was much more. "It's done," he exclaimed, holding up the device triumphantly. His sister, Priya, looked skeptical. "That little thing is going to help defend Earth?" she asked. Raj grinned. "Size isn't everything, sis. This baby can hack any system in the galaxy. If those aliens try anything funny with their tech, we'll be ready." Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In Lagos, Nigeria, a team of programmers worked on an AI that could predict alien strategies. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, engineers tested a new type of electromagnetic pulse weapon. And in a small village in Siberia, an old woman taught young children an ancient technique for resisting mind control. Back in Washington, D.C., President Harris met with her top military advisors. General Thompson spread out a map on the table. "We've got our best tech deployed around all major cities," he explained. "But our real ace in the hole is this." He pointed to a spot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. "What is it?" the president asked. "We call it the Kraken," Thompson said with a grim smile. "Let's just say if those aliens try to land where they're not wanted, they'll be in for a big surprise." As Earth prepared its defenses, the Imperial delegation was nearing the landing site. Grand Vizier Quan looked out the shuttle window, his 7 eyes widening at the sight of the blue planet. "Remarkable," he murmured. "Such a primitive world, yet they dare to challenge us. Perhaps this will be more interesting than I thought." The shuttle touched down in front of the United Nations building in New York. As the door opened, Earth's leaders held their breath. The fate of their world hung in the balance. Grand Vizier Quan stepped out, flanked by his entourage. He was an impressive sight, tall, with shimmering silver skin and multiple limbs that moved with fluid grace. Secretary General Okafor stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice steady. "We trust you've received our message regarding your banned status." Quan's face showed a mix of amusement and confusion. "Indeed we have," he replied. "I must say, it's most unusual. Perhaps we could discuss this misunderstanding." As they moved inside for negotiations, Earth's hidden defenses hummed to life. In her lab, Dr. Chen activated the planetary shield, an invisible energy barrier enveloping the globe. In Mumbai, Raj's hacking device began scanning and analyzing every bit of alien tech it could detect. Underground bunkers around the world filled with people, each equipped with Raj's miniature signal jammers, a last line of defense against any alien mind control attempts. And deep in the Pacific, the mysterious Kraken stirred, ready to rise if called upon. The negotiations began, with Earth's leaders standing firm on their declaration. Grand Vizier Quan argued, cajoled, and even tried to subtly threaten, but the humans remained unmoved. As the talks dragged on, tension mounted. The Imperial delegation grew increasingly frustrated, while Earth's defenders stayed on high alert. In orbit, Admiral Zixnok watched the proceedings with growing impatience. "This is getting us nowhere," he growled. "Perhaps it's time to show these humans the true might of the Empire." As he gave orders to prepare for a show of force, he failed to notice the small Earth-built satellites that had quietly surrounded his ship, ready to activate at a moment's notice. The stage was set. Humanity's ingenuity was about to be put to the ultimate test against the advanced technology of the Galactic Empire. The next move would determine the fate of Earth and potentially change the balance of power in the entire galaxy. The tension in the United Nations building was thick enough to cut with a knife. Grand Vizier Quan's patience was wearing thin, his 7 eyes narrowing as he addressed the Earth's leaders. "You must understand," he said, his voice laced with frustration. "The Galactic Empire does not take no for an answer. Your planet will be integrated. It is inevitable." President Harris stood up, her eyes flashing with determination. "And you must understand, Vizier Quan, that Earth is not yours to take. We have banned you, and we stand by that decision." At that moment, alarms began blaring. General Thompson burst into the room, his face grim. "Madam President, we have multiple alien ships entering Earth's atmosphere. They're not responding to our warnings." In orbit, Admiral Zixnock had lost his patience. "Enough of this foolishness," he growled. "Prepare the integration beams. We'll bring these humans into the Empire by force if necessary." As the Imperial ships descended, Earth's defenses sprang into action. Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the global communication system. "Activating planetary shield now." A shimmering energy field enveloped the Earth, just as the first Imperial ships fired their integration beams. The beams struck the shield and dissipated, leaving the planet untouched. Admiral Zixnock stared at his screens in disbelief. "Impossible. How can these primitives have such technology?" On the ground, Raj Patel's eyes lit up as his hacking device came to life. "Got you," he whispered, his fingers flying over the keyboard. Alien ship systems began to flicker and fail as Raj's virus warmed its way through their networks. In New York, Grand Vizier Quan received the news of the attack with shock. This is not what we agreed upon," he stammered, looking at the Earth's leaders. Secretary General Okuffer's voice was cold as steel. "You've violated our ban, Vizier. Now you'll see why it was a mistake to underestimate Earth." Around the world, humanity's preparations paid off. The AI and Legos predicted the Empire's attack patterns with uncanny accuracy, allowing Earth's defenders to stay one step ahead. The EMP weapons in Brazil fired, disabling swaths of Imperial fighters. And in the Pacific, the mysterious Kraken revealed itself. A massive tentacled machine rose from the depths, grabbing Imperial ships and dragging them into the ocean. Admiral Zixnock was in a panic. What is happening? How can these humans have such defenses? As the battle raged, Dr. Chen worked feverishly in her lab. "The shield is holding," she reported, "but we need to end this quickly." That's when Raj's voice came over the comm. "Dr. Chen, I've got access to their main systems. We can shut them down, but I need more power." Chen's eyes lit up. "Everyone, divert all non-essential power to Raj's signal. Let's show these aliens what Earth can do." Across the planet, lights dimmed as power was redirected. In his small workshop in Mumbai, Raj's device hummed with energy. "Here goes nothing," he muttered, and pressed the button. A pulse of energy shot from Earth, enveloping the Imperial fleet. One by one, the alien ships went dark, drifting helplessly in space. In the human building, Grand Vizier Quan watched in awe as his people's mighty armada was defeated by a planet they had dismissed as primitive. "How?" he whispered. "How did you do this?" President Harris smiled grimly. "We're humanity, Vizier. Underestimate us at your peril." As the disabled Imperial ships were towed away by Earth's hastily assembled space tugs, Admiral Zixnock faced a decision he never thought he'd make. "All forces," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Retreat. I repeat, retreat from Earth space immediately." The remaining functional ships turned tail and fled, leaving behind their stunned comrades and a battered but unbroken Earth. As the dust settled, humanity began to realize what they had accomplished. They had faced the mightiest force in the galaxy and emerged victorious. Earth had not just survived, it had declared its place among the stars. In the aftermath, President Harris addressed the world. "Today, we have shown the galaxy that Earth is not to be trifled with. We banned an empire, and we enforced that ban. Let this be a lesson to any who would threaten our freedom. Earth stands united. Earth stands strong. And Earth is closed to Imperial ambitions. As cheers erupted around the world, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and the galaxy would never be the same. News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On countless worlds, beings of all shapes and sizes gathered around communication devices, eager to hear about the tiny blue planet that had defied the mighty Galactic Empire. On Proxima B, the rebel leader Zara couldn't believe her ears. "They did it," she whispered, her 4 eyes wide with amazement. "They actually did it." Her fellow rebels cheered, hope blazing in their hearts for the first time in generations. In the bustling markets of Titan's largest moon, merchants and customers alike buzzed with excitement. A grizzled old trader, his tentacles waving animatedly, regaled a crowd with the tale. And then, would you believe it, they sent the whole Imperial fleet packing, with nothing but their wits and some cobbled-together tech. Even in the farthest reaches of the Empire, the story grew with each retelling. On the ice world of Glacius, bioluminescent beings huddled in their crystal caves, sharing the news through pulses of light. The humans used a giant sea monster. No, it was an army of invisible warriors. I heard they turned the Empire's own ships against them. Back on Earth, the leaders were coming to terms with their new reality. In the Oval Office, President Harris sat with her advisors, watching reports flood in from across the galaxy. "It seems we've become celebrities overnight," mused Secretary of State Rice, scrolling through a tablet filled with alien news feeds. General Thompson nodded gravely. "Celebrity can be dangerous, Madam President. We've painted a target on our backs." Dr. Chen, newly appointed as Earth's Director of Extraterrestrial Affairs, spoke up. "But we've also gained allies. Look at these messages pouring in from other worlds. They're inspired by us." President Harris leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression on her face. "So the question is, what do we do with this newfound influence?" Meanwhile, in the heart of Empire space, Emperor Xaxar raged in his crystal palace. His amorphous form pulsed with angry red light as he addressed his cowering advisors. "How could this happen?" he roared, his voice shaking the very foundations of the palace. "How could one insignificant world humiliate us like this?" Grand Vizier Quan, recently returned from Earth, stepped forward cautiously. "Your Imperial Majesty, I believe we severely underestimated the humans. Their technology, their unity, their sheer audacity, they are unlike any species we've encountered." Emperor Xaxar's form shimmered dangerously. "Are you suggesting, Vizier, that we simply accept this insult? That we allow one puny planet to defy the will of the Empire?" Quan chose his next words carefully. "I suggest, Your Majesty, that we reevaluate our approach. The humans have shown they cannot be conquered by force. Perhaps it's time for the Empire to consider diplomacy." The Emperor's light dimmed slightly as he considered this. Diplomacy, with primitives who dared to ban us. With a species that has proven itself to be far more than primitive, Quan corrected gently. One that could be a valuable ally, or a dangerous enemy. As the Empire grappled with its new reality, other forces in the galaxy began to move. On the mercantile world of Zox, the Trade Federation Council convened an emergency session. "We must establish relations with Earth immediately," insisted Merchant Prince Grok, his gill slits flaring with excitement. "Imagine the profits to be made from their technology." In the shadowy corridors of the galactic underground, crime lords and smugglers saw new opportunities. "This Earth," mused the notorious Blix the Unscrupulous, "sounds like a planet of clever beings. Perhaps they'd be interested in some mutually beneficial arrangements." And in the tranquil gardens of Harmony, homeworld of the enigmatic mediators, the High Seer closed her 3 eyes in deep contemplation. "The threads of fate have shifted," she murmured to her acolytes. "This Earth has set great changes in motion. We must prepare." Back on Earth, oblivious to the galactic machinations their actions had sparked. Humanity celebrated. In town squares and city centers, people danced and sang, reveling in their victory. But in quiet rooms and secret bunkers, Earth's leaders and brightest minds were already planning their next moves. They had won the first battle, but the real challenge was just beginning. As the sun set on this historic day, Dr. Chen stood at her lab window, gazing up at the stars. "We're not alone anymore," she said softly. "For better or worse, Earth is now a player on the galactic stage." The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what this audacious young species would do next. The age of Earth's isolation was over. The age of Earth's galactic adventure had just begun. 1 year had passed since Earth's stunning victory over the Galactic Empire. The planet that once thought itself alone in the universe now stood at the center of a rapidly changing galaxy. In the newly constructed Galactic Embassy in New York, President Harris stood before a crowd of human and alien diplomats. The room was a riot of colors, shapes, and species from across the stars. "Friends, allies, honored guests," she began, her voice firm and clear. "1 year ago, Earth took its first steps into the galactic community. We did so not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. Today, we reaffirm that stance and look to the future." Among the audience, Ambassador Zara of the now free Proxima B nodded approvingly. Her world, inspired by Earth's defiance, had thrown off Imperial rule just months earlier. Dr. Chen, now Earth's foremost expert on extraterrestrial relations, watched from the sidelines. Her mind wandered to the incredible changes the past year had brought. Earth's technology had advanced by leaps and bounds, thanks to a combination of reverse-engineered alien tech and good old human ingenuity. Raj Patel's hacking device had spawned a new field of cybernetics, revolutionizing computer science overnight. The planetary shield, once a desperate gambit, was now a standard feature of Earth's defenses. But it wasn't just for protection anymore. Modified versions helped control the weather, ending droughts and hurricanes around the globe. But not all changes had been easy. The sudden influx of alien knowledge and culture had caused upheavals in every field from religion to economics. Earth was growing, but growing pains were inevitable. As President Harris continued her speech, a commotion at the back of the room caught everyone's attention. A shimmering, amorphous form floated in, flanked by a nervous-looking Grand Vizier Quan. Gasps rippled through the crowd as they recognized Emperor Xaxar himself. The leader of the Galactic Empire had come to Earth in person. President Harris paused only for a moment before addressing the unexpected guest. "Emperor Xaxar, we welcome you to Earth." The Emperor's form pulsed with a mix of colors. When he spoke, his voice was surprisingly melodious. "President Harris, people of Earth, I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a petitioner." A murmur ran through the crowd. Quan stepped forward to translate. "His Imperial Majesty wishes to formally acknowledge Earth's independence and propose a treaty of mutual cooperation and peace." The room erupted in excited chatter. Dr. Chen couldn't believe her ears. The mighty Galactic Empire, seeking peace with Earth. As the diplomats huddled to discuss this unexpected turn of events, Dr. Chen's communicator buzzed. It was a message from the High Seer of Harmony. The threads converge. Earth's path shapes the tapestry of fate. Chen smiled to herself, cryptic as always, but the message was clear. Earth's actions were changing the very fabric of galactic society. In the following days, news of the Emperor's visit spread across the galaxy. On countless worlds, beings looked to Earth with a mixture of awe, hope, and trepidation. In the markets of Titan's moon, merchants now hawked Earth-style gadgets alongside their usual wares. On Zox, the Trade Federation was scrambling to establish new shipping routes to the Sol system. Even in the shadows of the galactic underground, Earth's influence was felt. Blix the Unscrupulous found himself outmaneuvered by human diplomats at every turn. "These Earthlings," he grumbled to his associates, "they're almost as devious as we are." As negotiations with the Empire progressed, Earth's leaders faced tough decisions. How much should they trust their former enemies? How could they balance their newfound power with their responsibilities to other worlds? In her lab, Dr. Chen pored over reports from across the galaxy. Earth was no longer just a small blue planet. It had become a symbol, a beacon of hope for countless beings yearning for freedom and self-determination. We banned an empire, she mused, and in doing so, we've started a revolution. President Harris's words at the closing of the Galactic Summit echoed across the stars. Earth is no longer just our home. It's an idea, an ideal, a promise that in this vast, wondrous universe, every world, every species has the right to chart its own course. As the sun set on this new era, humans and aliens alike looked to the sky with new eyes. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, dangers, and opportunities. And at the heart of it all was Earth, the little planet that dared to ban an empire and changed the course of galactic history. The adventure was just beginning. The stars awaited, and humanity, with its unique blend of audacity, ingenuity, and hope, was ready to meet the challenge. In the depths of space, on worlds yet undiscovered, new voices joined the chorus spreading across the cosmos.